everybody, I'm Katallina, and today we're here to talk about Remonster Episode 8. In the aftermath of last week's epic battle, Gobrou and friends have finally returned home and are starting to sort through things that have been neglected during the wartime efforts. The most important thing that happened in this episode, at least in my opinion, is the realization from Gobrou that it's time to take the human girls that he helped in the very early stages of the show back to their home. And the reality that, for whatever reason, they don't want to go. Part of this could potentially be some form of Stockholm Syndrome. Part of this could be that they actually love being there. But Gobrou, I believe, isn't sure, and since he promised that he would get them home, I think he is legitimately worried about making sure that he keeps his word. Because I think that he does genuinely like these people, and he does want to help them. And he also feels that it's important that he actually do the things that he says he's going to do, because that is part of what it is to be a good leader. It'll be really interesting to see how this actually advances moving forward, because there were a lot of different reactions from the different characters who are in this little group of women, ranging from Redhead not being able to focus in combat when she was working with the redheaded knight that she's been getting instruction from, to other characters just being like, aw, and kind of dealing with it and moving along. This looks like it's going to be the focus of next week's episode, and it also means that the Goblins, for the first time, will be directly engaging in human territory, so that will be something to look forward to. Another thing that I thought was really cool was that there was a feast with the elves to celebrate the victory of the war and the fact that their home wasn't lost or anything like that. And one of the really beautiful things that we see during that situation is this dance by the elven chieftain's daughter, the girl that we helped prevent being kidnapped earlier in the series. And she does this dance and there are all these spirits swirling around her. I would assume those are some of the comrades that they lost in the war. And it really gave me these vibes of Yuna's dance in FF10, where she's doing the, I think it was for Kilika, and I always found that sequence of the game really moving. So it was really interesting to see something of that nature here. It was cool because in the previous episode and at the start of this episode, we get kind of a glance of how the goblins deal with death and with losing comrades. And now in this situation, we see how the elves deal with it, which is completely different. These little touches of understanding and creating unique cultures for each race and species is one of the things that I think is one of this show's unsung hallmark skills. And I think they do a really beautiful job at showing how different peoples do different things and how all those people kind of interact and intermingle as this community and as this overall culture of the forest expands and grows. I also really thought it was interesting hearing a bit more about the Elven Chieftain's brother and the fact that he actually went out into the wider world, which is something that elves aren't supposed to do. And I just thought that was really neat because in contrast to what's going on with these human girls that Gobrou wants to send back, humans, of course, don't realistically belong in the forest, they belong among other humans. But these humans want to stay with the goblins because they've gained some kind of connection. I'm going to take it in the most positive light possible because Gobrou and friends have actually been relatively nice to them during the duration of the show. But, I mean, it's just interesting to see how somebody can actually end up feeling that they want to be outside of what would be normal for them, and that always makes for a potentially interesting storytelling beat. So I wonder whether we're going to end up meeting the chieftain's brother, whether maybe he went to a human area or something. I wonder if there will be some kind of connection down the road, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see. There were a whole bunch of new recruits that we got during this episode, and they actually got listed as being provisional members, and there were a large group of them that did not like that. The funniest part about all of that, as far as I was concerned, was that there was this vampire-esque character who actually came toward Gobrou and was trying to flirt with Gobme and be like, yes, when I become leader of this by defeating this guy, you will belong to me, blah blah blah. And Gobme is like, I wouldn't be with you if you were the last creature existing in the forest. And then Gobrou, you just see him get angry, even though Gobme did just say that, but not at Gobme, of course, at the guy. And Gobrou just bim 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 is punching him into the ground. He then gives him a drop of his blood because he doesn't want to kill him. He's just back off, she's with me, which of course is hilarious given how many ladies Gobrou actually has. And then the vampire, after having a drop of Gobrou's blood, is like, That is the most delicious blood I have ever had in my entire life. You and me, we are destiny. And it's like, oh my god. I almost died laughing. It was so great. It's one of the funniest things I've seen in a while. It totally cracked me up. If you haven't seen that yet, you need to. It was great. While we're talking about couples and potential couple trouble, I actually think that the red-haired knight likes the redheaded girl that is in that group that's potentially going back home. And I think that his frustration with her when they're training is actually more so a frustration that, like, yo, why does she like the goblin, or like the ogre in Gobrou's case, and not me? And that was pretty funny. And I mean, I wonder whether I'm right or whether I'm misreading it. It's entirely possible it could go either way. But she really does seem like she's concerned about the fact that she's not going to be with Gobrou. And she brightened up immediately when the redheaded knight is like, hey, I do still think he likes you and cares about you. So that was pretty funny. I really do sometimes find the whole situation with Gobrou and all the ladies weird. It doesn't bother me the way it might in other shows, because it's been something that's been established since the beginning. And none of the girls ever actually fight over him. But I mean, redhead, I'm sorry, but Gobme is first girl for Gobrou. Go home. Find somebody that's your own. Seriously. Lastly, we get another appearance from the horny dryad of episode 3. Gobrou actually goes to see her because he wants to get a hold of some magical seeds that are going to be used to do special crops for the goblins and friends for all of their food needs. These grow faster, they're more hardy, they're more nutritious, they're larger, they're just all around better. But of course, being horny dryad, we get like a neon glow silhouette effect of silly music going on while obviously things are going down. And when Gobrou gets back to camp, of course, all the girls are like, you have hickeys on your neck. And of course, it's implied that things are going off there. What I love, again, I've said this a billion times, but what I love about these scenes is that they never show anything where it would make somebody really uncomfortable necessarily. Like with the first sequence, we see silhouettes of the dryad, who of course, in like an Adam and Eve kind of styling, has leaves on any intimate parts you wouldn't want someone to see. And then the imagery for the girls, as we see their shocked expressions, we see the implication of the hickeys on his neck, and then we see a blue background with a bunch of hearts floating up into the air. I thought that was funny and adorable. Again, I really love how they handle this aspect of the show, because they're able to show what is truly going on with Gobrou without making it something where it ends up becoming a central focus and any more important than it needs to be, because while it's part of the show, it is not the entirety of the show, and I appreciate the tasteful use of stuff to make it at least a bit more comfortable for audiences, and to balance it out in the overall structure of the plot. As you can tell, I overall really enjoyed this episode. I love these episodes where a whole bunch of things are happening, where we're learning new stuff about them, about their home, where they're expanding and interacting with each other. This show is so interesting because, I mean, Gobrou is obviously its heart, but then you have other characters that are like offshoots and who are interesting, like Gobme or Gobkichi or the redheaded little warrior girl, or any number of others. And it's difficult because sometimes I have trouble with their names, but I generally do go, oh, this is so interesting when I see different characters pop up, and there are a lot of characters in here that I really like. But it looks like we are heading into human territory in the next episode. It'll be interesting to see how the girls will deal with being back inside of their own normal society. Will they be accepted? Will they want to stay? Will they want to go back? Will the goblins and friends have any problems? Because apparently human kingdoms are not as accepting of like demi-human species as demi-human species apparently are of humans, which is a really interesting take. But I will see you guys in the next video. If you guys have any thoughts, feel free to comment them below, because I love to know what you're thinking. And I will see you around. Bye!